Morning. It's Friday, December 6th. It's a little after 10:30. This is our first of two monthly Dryden Fiber Public Broadband Committee meetings. We're going to cover everything that happened in the month of November in this report, which will include uh, everything operationally, construction, installations, as well as a few other topics. Also going to look at the September minutes and ask for those to be reviewed at the end of the meeting if we have time. The next meeting after this will be in 2 weeks. We'll have deeper dive discussions in that meeting in 2 weeks, which will be our last meeting of the year. I'm going to share my screen, which has the deck with the report. Maybe. All right. So as we start with each of these reports, this is the executive summary for the month of November. We'll start with the big one, which is the Municipal Infrastructure Program update. We are continuing to work with the town of Caroline with an intermunicipal agreement, which will specify everything about the partnership, specifically with regard to the funding, the placing of orders for equipment and material, paying for that equipment, all the work that we do with all our subcontractors, paying them, receiving the invoices from them once we've requested the work, receiving the invoices, paying those, and then eventually all the way to the reimbursements where we send both the invoices that are for MIP to New York State, as well as the canceled checks that to prove that we've already paid these invoices. So that way New York State can then reimburse us for the funds. That's all kind of wrapped into this intermunicipal agreement. There's just a lot of little details that we're working through with regard to equipment, who can own the equipment, who owns it, who can pay for it, how it gets paid for and approved, and now how it gets ordered. Once that IMA is agreed to between the two towns, which we hope happens this month, both the town of Caroline and town of Dryden have meetings in a few weeks. I think on December 19th for Caroline, December 20th for Dryden. Ideally on that date, we would sign the IMA between the two towns and the grant disbursement agreement at the town of Dryden, send those over to New York State and be ready to go for reimbursement starting in the first quarter of 2025. A couple other updates. Permitting, which is the first stage of the MIP project. There are 29 unique permits for construction for the MIP project. A bunch of those, about 11 of those, I believe, are in the town of Dryden. The other 18 are in the town of Caroline. And the update for this month is that they are moving faster than expected. How much faster? We're working on the exact details of what we thought it would take, but faster than the original plan, which was something around 10 to 12 months concurrently for these 29 permits. They're happening faster. So when we get to that part of the report, you'll see a new slide on permitting and some detail about where we are. And finally, we are continuing to have weekly status calls on Tuesdays with the Connect All office that runs the MIP program. Before we dive into the rest of this summary, any questions on the MIP project to date? You'll have to unmute yourself if you have questions.
Have we outlined the permitting process like we did the last time, and we just aren't seeing that yet, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So, but you're saying it's it's going better than we expected. I don't know what our expectations were there, but it used to be 6 months was what we sort of estimated for each one, but
10 to 12 months.
in 12 months. Okay.
Yeah. We were expecting permits we were granted this award in June. I believe we thought that we would have permitting and electrical make ready completed sometime around June to July of next year, which would allow us to do construction over the summer. and begin to provide service in September or October to these MIP addresses, approximately. So we're ahead. How far ahead? We'll learn a little bit today and a little bit more in the next month or two.
Okay, great. Yeah.
It might also
Key,
do a refresher on permitting.
Yeah, it's also key to make sure that we get done in the 2 year, because we got a really tight. It's pretty tight.
Yeah, when we started this, we had 3 months. Now we are down to less than 25 months. So 5 months gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Another update. We had a brief outage at 2 of our POPs during the November 22nd storm. That was the Friday before Thanksgiving. To note, that storm did knock out power to about 200,000 homes across New York State, including not all, but some houses in the town of Dryden and 2 of our POPs. Due to the outage, there were some people who were able to retain power to their homes and could have used Dryden fiber if the POPs had not gone offline. Thus, for these homes, it's about 35 customers. For the amount of time they were offline, 22 hours per our existing service level agreement, we will plan to issue them a 40% credit on their December bill. Since this came up in the operations meeting a couple of days ago, I put a sub bullet here, which is to discuss if we need to change our SLA to talk about weather-related or acts of God type of events, where there may be cases where we just don't have the ability to provide service at all that is beyond our ability as an organization, and how that should impact our credit process right now.
Do you want to discuss some of the details and the mitigations that we're thinking of here, or do we want to do that at some other later point?
We're working through that, so we'll come back deeper into what we're doing on mitigation in the future. Yeah. Another item, we did have some inventory issues basically due to our rapid growth. We were plugging along 10, 15 installs per month. From the time the MIP grant came through in June, we just had a real explosive growth, as you saw, with I believe 25 installs in August, 35 in September, 35 in October. We got to a place where we looked on the shelf. We thought we had them in inventory, but we're out of ONUs on around November 1st, that Friday. We did acquire more within 21 days on November 22nd, but did put a bit of a delay in our installation process. We now have over 300 ONUs in hand. Actually, we've already used, I don't know, Tracy has the exact number. I think we've already used 30 of them for installs since they came in on November 22nd.
That's approximately correct.
So as soon as they came in, they went right out for installations. Construction also had a run out of 24 count fiber. More has been ordered. I don't know the exact delay in construction, but there was a delay in what we projected to have happen in Etna that we're saying is back to this 24 count. We're working on better inventory management around both of these going forward.
Do we have an individual who's responsible for that inventory and overseeing it?
We have our partner Gleeman manages our inventory. However, there are a number of parties placing orders and fulfilling them and using them. And we're trying to bring that together as we've been growing and expanding and turning that big map from yellow to green. It means we've got construction teams all over the town pulling equipment from the yard, updating, getting the stuff all together electronically to make sure we're where we need to be. We just found a couple bumps. I thought we had ended our running out of 24 count fiber issue, but it came up again in the last month or so. Go for it.
Do you feel we have an adequate inventory management software, or are we using software to do any of this? Are we using Excel spreadsheets, or is it just somebody cutting off the shelf? I mean, how is that done?
Tracy, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, we're doing it with spreadsheets, And Dave has made a request that going forward, and I think we'll probably start this next month, we will provide this committee with an inventory count on the pieces that we need to make sure we have installations going forward. So you folks will get to see where we are, and we should have no issues going forward. That's the plan.
Right. Yeah.
But the fact that we are growing, like, holy cow, we went from doing, like you said, we were doing 10 a month to now we got 50 on the schedule for this month. So it's like, it's crazy.
So, okay.
We also learned a little bit more about the products we've chosen in the supply chain. The equipment that we received was originally supposed to be coming from Guadalajara. Then they changed and said it was going to be coming from Thailand. And then basically overnight, they were like, oh, it is coming back from Guadalajara. It'll be flown there. And it arrived like next day. So the equipment we've selected it's not like it's just on the shelf in a warehouse in Cortland County. We can just go and pull it. Or even in New Jersey, it's quite far away. We didn't know that. Honestly, everything else we've ordered, from drop cables to plume devices, we can get in less than 7 days, most of the time.
Yeah, we ordered plume devices on Monday. They came yesterday.
Yeah. And so, but basically some of the Sienna equipment, the ONU piece has a lot longer lead time on it. So is that what we're finding? So
Yeah, even now, once we get to this 310 item order, the next order is not going to come anywhere locally. It's going to have to be pulled from somewhere out of country.
okay. But do we have an estimate of what that do we know a reasonable lead time on that? That would be the thing to know, that we can say, oh, we order now, we're going to get it in a month, 5 weeks, or whatever. So, or
Yeah,
do we
well,
have any commitment from Sienna to get that equipment in a timely manner?
Tracy, can you answer any commitment that you've heard from Sienna so far on this?
I cannot. I'm in agreement with Graham. It's like, can we just find out what the lead times are? And they don't have lead times that they can give me, but it's looking like 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
So it's just based on what I've been seeing. I think that's what we need to be prepared for. And that's what we're going to do going forward, is we're going to try to stay on top of it so that we do get things ordered in a timely fashion so we don't run out.
Yeah, and with this, you got 300, you've already used 30, you've got 50 on the schedule. So are we placing another order like soon?
We will be making that decision in the next week or two.
Okay.
I think we have, there's some other, we have some other things going on, I think, too, to discuss, whether we change product or not.
I think for right now, we're probably good till March. So if we get something ordered by the end of January, we should be good.
Good.
Yeah, you don't think the schedule's gonna, what's our upper limit for number of installs we can do in a month?
That's a pretty good question, but I think that right now, if we say we're going to do 50 or 60 even, that's probably pretty good. But we also got to remember that it's winter. Things are probably going to slow down a little bit. So it's difficult to make that decision on where we're going to be 60 days from now, but that's our best guess.
No, I hear you. Okay, thanks.
At the same time, right now, our partners at Clarity, who do the installations, have committed to 6 installs per day, and an average monthly of 20 working days. So that would be 120 installs per month.
It's like our upper limit. Geez, you could burn through those 300 in a hurry.
Yeah, that's 2 months. Yeah, 2 months you'll burn through that.
There's a combination.
Right.
Eric has his hand up. Eric?
Yeah, technically we could probably do like 8 a day. If it comes down to it.
So if we do 8 a day, that's even faster. That's 160. We don't have
going to
that.
work on Christmas, and they're not going to work on New Year's, and they're probably going to have a couple of days.
We got December, which is going to be probably a little less. Yeah,
I hear it.
Yeah.
We don't have it right now, but you'll see in later in the deck how many requests we've had that are not yet in the green zone. So
Right.
let me skip to those. So right now we have 1,251 parcels. Of that, we have about 250 that are accounted for that are either live or in scheduled installations or to be scheduled. So we're right around a 20% take rate right now. That 1,251 is also 21% of the town of Dryden. So 20% of 20% approximately. If we maintain that, that gives us an idea of what things look like. If we do some different things with marketing to try to increase the take rate, that would change things pretty rapidly too. We're also working at adding more parcels in the north half of town, which does include, quite a few houses on Lee Road in the village of Dryden that are in the yellow, Leisure, other parts heading toward McLean where there was just some density. So we should see some increase in volume. We'll just have to watch it really closely and see as they're coming in, what Clarity can handle and what equipment looks like on the shelf.
I think the other thing that we need to be aware of is that Ithaca Estates Trailer Park, because we've started doing installations there, and I'm seeing that I think that's going to explode. Those people are all like, okay, my neighbor got it, I want it now, and there's 74 units just there. So that's something to just keep in mind.
Yeah, the Ithaca Estates is a big opportunity for us. I'm glad we're finally in there after quite a while. Right now, as the last part of the summary before we move to the individual slides, we have 180 paying customers. It was 15 more in November. We had 114 inbound requests in the month of November. 53 of those were in the green zone. So people are looking for the service and they're in the green zone. One other note is that Caroline sent out an email to all of their residents, and 25 signed up in November. 40 total of our signups. Since we added Town of Caroline as a selection back in August, 40 of them have been from Caroline. There's probably a handful, maybe 10 or so other ones that were from Town of Caroline that signed up even before we had that as an option. And finally, we have, as Tracy mentioned, 50 customers in the queue that are scheduled. So it's going to be a pretty big month this month. Dan Lamb.
You just say Caroline emailed all their residents?
I believe they have a email newsletter like we have. So Mark Whitmer sent out the Town of Caroline newsletter and mentioned Dryden Fiber in it. I think it was also sent in the mail.
Okay, all right.
They have a print piece too.
Okay, so I mean that's impressive if they have all their residents' email addresses, but yeah, the newsletter is a different story.
I know I got one in my house. I live in the Town of Caroline, and there was a section for Dryden Fiber. I believe a version of that also emailed to whatever list they have. It's not all residents, but just like our email goes to 600 or so Dryden residents.
Yeah.
Or email addresses. It's not every, yeah.
Gotcha.
But it definitely did create some demand right away. We got all these inquiries from Caroline. I went to my mailbox and there was the newsletter. So as soon as people got the newsletter, they started requesting service. Again, I keep this in here. This shows the entire MIP project of the map of both the town of Dryden and town of Caroline as we build south from the blue ring, the current network in Dryden, where the permitting that we'll talk about is the red lines heading south into Caroline. All right, Amanda is not here today. I'm going to cover her slides and then have the other teams present the other information for November. So as I already stated a couple of times, there was a bit of a gap in installations, which lowered our number of new customers that signed up in the month of November or that were billed. As of December 1st, we had 15 new customers, 14 residential and 1 new commercial customer. To bring our total to 180. We did not have any customers leave in the month of November. Any questions on customer base?
No, it looks good.
Based on this, we should see a pretty strong showing from the work that's being done to catch up in November and to fulfill what we already have for December, we should see a pretty big boost overall from this 180, probably into the 220s by the end of the month. We'll see that in the January report. Right, I'm going to hand it over to Ryan and the team at Hunt for the next couple of slides on construction and permitting. Ryan?
Yep. So we, as far as DOT permits, we had one change to a county permit, which got approved and is in process, and we have one other underway. So county permits and DOT permits are in good shape. As far as the utility pole permits, we've completed and attached to what you see in green there. So that means we've got cable attached to each one of those routes. So we're really chipping away. And then Dryden 009 is nearing completion as well for attachment. So that really leaves 6 and 7, which is West Dryden Road and Route 38 North, which is a big add to the network. There's a lot of parcels on those two routes. And then Dryden 006, which is Bone Plain Road. So that northwest section of the town is really what's kind of pending there. Dryden 008, which is Peruville Road. That is still being looked at by NYSEG. So we don't have approval there to go to bid yet, but we do think that that's going to happen relatively soon. Dryden 0011, I actually found out yesterday that this is out of Verizon Recon and has been sent back to NYSEG. So they have to just give their blessing to the Verizon Recon and we can go out to bid on that one. That was one that got split and was holding us up. And it's in a couple of different areas of the town. So nice to see that one get moving there, and I think we'll be good to get working on those apps in the first quarter of next year. 8 and 11 specifically.
Ryan, do we think the weather's going to slow down that make ready that they're doing, attaching to poles, or is it just?
That is a good question. I know they do make ready all through the year, and off the top of my head, I wouldn't say that it would slow things down, but I would want to ask that question to Richardson to find out if it's true.
Okay.
I know that the Syracuse Utilities and Lightspeed have said that they're going to keep working all through the hardest parts of the winter. So they don't really see a time where they're going to take off because of weather, other than just inclement weather conditions.
Okay. So it's only underground we have to worry about, which we don't have very much of, right?
Yeah, and and the underground stuff pops up periodically too, like Dryden 005, for example. That was anticipated to be all aerial, and there were some problems with some cable poles on this certain section there, and we had to change it to underground. So like there have been a couple of things that have popped up. The estimated completion dates from Richardson have continued to kind of move back. They're certified NYSEG contractors. So like, for example, when the storm happened the other day, they mobilized all the crews beyond the restoration crews that they already have. So like we've had conversations with them about the dates slipping, and they've told us that they're going to work their hardest to keep those dates solid, but they continue to kind of slip no matter what. So yeah, electrical make ready through NYSEG has been typical. But one thing Dave mentioned earlier is since the MIP program has come along, I would say that all of our applications have moved a little bit faster, regardless of MIP versus non-MIP. So that's been a nice improvement to see at the utility level.
Yeah, so we sort of fixed some of that bottleneck that was going on, or it seems to have fixed itself from the pressure. So
a little bit, but I think we just kept chipping away at these applications and kept on Richardson, and we would have liked to get this electrical make ready done for 6, 7, and everything really in the fall time, but it slipped into the winter. On Dryden 0012, we'll be doing, I think we all know that 366 was activated down through Etna, but we're also looking at, once we get done with 6, 7, and 9, moving to Dryden Road and Turkey Hill. There's a small section that was included in that app there. We're going to try to get that completed as well.
That's the south side of Dryden Road between NYSEG and Turkey Hill.
That's correct. Yep.
That's great. They've been watching their neighbors with our Dryden Fiber signs for like a year. That's good. I'm sure Tracy could tell you exactly how many of them have ever requested service. It's good. Anything else on construction permitting updates or questions for Ryan?
Okay, so this slide lays out all the applications we submitted for MIP, and we really just went gangbusters as soon as they made the award and told us that we could go. We submitted everything, and Kate sits in on the calls for all the MIP applicants sit on the same call and go over poll applications and issues and everything. And I think we're by far the furthest ahead on this. And so Kate's doing really well. And I think one of them, Dryden 00018, where you see MRB sent, that's the make ready package. That means that is out to bid. So like Dave said, we were thinking in the springtime, we would be bidding these packages and doing construction prior to summertime. But we're already seeing one to go out to bid. So if you, as you can imagine, as Richardson gets done with these applications we covered on the last page, they're going to be moving right into Dryden 018 and the other ones that are going to continue to see these make ready packages come back. There was a brief discussion the other day about, are these contiguous, you know, and I think we have to look at them individually, but like for instance, Dryden 18 is an extension from Lake Road extension down towards Lake Road in Dryden. So that one will be able to be constructed and, you know, go live post construction. But there may be one like 19 where I don't know this off the top of my head, but that may need Dryden 17 to get to 19, if that makes sense. You know, there will be some contingent on others. But every single app that we've submitted for both Dryden and Caroline are either, you know, moving through the process or in design, which is they picked it up, they've surveyed it, and they're doing the make ready design. Kate,
Thanks, Ryan.
is there anything else you want to cover that I didn't?
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Unless anybody has any questions.
Yeah, thanks a lot for getting that together, Ryan. That gives us a better idea. So
Yes, this was Kate. So yeah, thank you,
thanks, Kate.
There will be specific maps to follow, like the next
Yeah.
map you'll see for the other applications. There will be maps to follow. We just haven't gotten them completed yet.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, we're on track, so that's great.
All right, let's look at the next map then. This is construction permitting for north half of town, some MIP, but just a visual way to look at what Ryan showed 2 slides ago.
And this is where what Kate was talking about, adding the information for the MIP. We'll extend it down into Caroline. It might end up being a couple of slides just so that we can see it correctly. But we're going to add color coding there. So you'll see Dryden 18 appear on this one, and we'll have to figure out how we present it on the side so that it's not too busy and makes sense. So on this one, I think the big updates are the fuchsia area there was constructed, and we're working through that right now. A lot of it's been activated. There's a couple of small sections that Lightspeed will finish up as they're doing actually the brown section up there as well. So those 2 sections are the ones that have been cabled and partially spliced in at this point, and next week they're going to finish the fuchsia and start the brown. Some interesting noteworthy parts are at the very north end of McLean Road. We have to dogleg up through, you know, we have Cassavant Elementary School there, and then we go up to I forget what the road is that comes back down, Gulf Hill maybe. But we had to go up into McLean and then back down. We will be coming back down into the town of Dryden just to make that full route. So, you know, Cassavant School has access now. And then we have a splice case at the end of McLean Road where it will now come down into Gulf Hill Road. So like technically those 2 points have access even though they're not on this map. But we haven't done anything with those yet.
So Cassavant isn't actually in the town of Dryden, is that school and that trailer park that's across from it there?
The trailer park is in town. The school is not.
Okay, so how close are we getting in that trailer park? Access to that?
So we're right there, and if we can get permission, we have the fiber right outside on the curb.
Okay, great.
And then the gray sections there and the blue section is the dark blue is where you see that Verizon app that moved through. So that was some big progress there to get that unstuck. The yellow.
Are you talking about Dryden 011B?
A and B.
Okay.
Yep.
I know that Rick's on the call and he lives in that part of town. I think Rick C. Nemai or Etna Road.
Nemai.
Do we have an idea of what the timeline is between EMR bidding and being green?
So right now NYSEG has the telco recon and they review that. Typically it takes a week or two for them to review it, approve it, and then give us the bid package back to send out. So I would think that, you know, maybe by the end of this month, we're able to send the bid package out. We do a 2-week bid period for the contractors. And then after that 2-week bid period, there's a mobilization period that is a couple of weeks. But this is where we start to deal with the make ready crews and the other things that they're dealing with, you know.
Dan raised his hand. Dan?
Point of personal privilege here. This map's killing me. I can see purple in my neighbor's house, and then I go white.
You're in Dryden 008 Horizon Review Approval Road. It's this color.
Yeah. Yeah. So what happens between my neighbor's house and my house?
Well, we literally talked about how many poles are there,
Yeah.
and it's just a matter of extending just a couple 2 poles down. So we could only turn tank so far, you know.
Yeah, okay. My internet's been out for the last day. Just came in this morning, so you know. Just was curious.
Mine doesn't even have any
Oh.
color.
So you know, but that is Dryden 008, and that is, you know, probably the last one out of this chunk we'll get to. Now that the other 2 have moved forward a little bit, but we will get there as soon as we can.
Maybe I can get on my neighbor's Wi-Fi.
It could be worse, Dan. You could be Tony. He's up there surrounded by green and can't get anything.
Yeah, that's hard too.
Yeah,
But
you're right. And last night my Spectrum went out and my neighbor who's on Dryden Fiber at the end of the road was picking on me because he still had service.
Where are we at with Tony's Road? I thought that was going to be closed by December.
They're going to be working on that right after they're done with those subdevelopments on Ferguson Road.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yep. So we have some subdivisions that they're working on their yellow or yellow. Well, one is off Yellow Barn and the other one's off. The other 2 are off Ferguson.
Oh, Ferguson. Lee Road is done, right?
Lee Road is not done. We have the pathway, and that was part of the 24 count fiber. They needed some fiber to run through there. That and Hilton Goodrich was kind of a similar situation. So the pathway is there, and then aerial crews are tying in those 2 locations. I'll have to call them. I thought they were down there this week, but it's probably going to be next week. Tying in those 2 locations. Once we have them tied in, we'll splice everything through.
In any event, I'm not going to make December 31st, right?
We will try. We'll try.
I know where things are.
We don't want to give you a present at Christmas, Tony, you know.
Yeah, that can't be the theme of your party, Tony. You gotta think of something else.
Yeah, well,
Make sure you put out some cookies and carrots for the internet elves.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Maybe you should send cookies to Ryan. Maybe get things
There
done
you go.
quicker.
That might do it.
I mean,
Or a nice bottle of wine or something. Yeah.
Trust me, if it was as easy as cookies, guys.
yeah, I I didn't put a slide in here, but since the last time we met, I did spend a day doing nothing, watching the Syracuse Utilities team do the underground work on Lee Road and then do aerial work on 366 between Freeville and McLean. Their teams are out there. They are working. Like they're up early. They're getting their stuff together. They're boring the holes. They're laying the conduit. They're connecting all these telephone poles together with our fiber. Like they're out there doing it. This is a big town. So just every day they're getting a few more feet in and a few more miles closer to getting finished. It's just no. I was like, can I bring Gatorade, cookies? They're like, they're at it. They're caffeinated. They're working.
Did you get good pictures you can put up on the website, Dave?
I did have some good
Great.
pictures. I'll share those. Yeah. That'll be good to switch up the map pictures for some construction photos.
Yeah.
Or anything else on construction permitting?
Not from me. Anyone else have any questions? Any specifics?
Mark Wilson raised his hand.
Hey, Mark.
That was a mistake. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Justin. All right. All right. Let's talk about address availability updates.
all right. So a little bit slower of a month this month. So we've only added 65 parcels. We're up into these super rural areas, and the two apps that came to fruition for us to splice in were some of the most sparsely populated ones. Fall Creek Road and Howell School, West Mallory and East Mallory and Dutcher Hill and stuff. So it's not a huge number, but you'll see that tick up with the next couple of jobs. We were able to increase mileage pretty significantly by putting a lot of cable up, and we had some underground work continuing in the village. So we'll probably see a pretty steady pace of this right here for the next, couple of months, probably 12 miles, 13, 14 miles a month, and a mile of underground if we have that much. Some items of note. So Highland, Hilton, Goodrich underground fiber has now been installed. We're going to target splicing for next week, but we're going to have to balance that with some other work that we have going on. But that's the goal, is to begin splicing that in next week, get that activated. Highland, Hilton, Goodrich is actually we're going through there to get to Spring House Road. So there's a tie-in at Highland, and then there'll be a tie-in at Hilton that will then traverse up Spring House Road, and that's how we'll make that connection. The cable has been placed on 8 of 12 pole applications, and that will the 12th will complete the north half of the town. We continue to kind of pick away at some of these miscellaneous address activations in the village of Dryden. We have a specific update for South Street, East Main Street, and James Street. There's like a little section there where we still have some yellow, and we just had to do some testing to make sure that was good, and that will appear on the next map update. We intended to do that yesterday. Joel is off today, who's our GIS person, but we had to get a DPS filing in, which we had to prioritize. So next 2 weeks, we're going to continue the underground construction on Scenic Way, Chelsea Circle, Bear Circle, and there's Hanford Drive after that last subdivision on Ferguson. The splicing and testing of aerial work on Caswell Road, we ran all the cable up Caswell Road, and but there's that small underground section, so that's being worked on by Sean's crew, and we're going to splice and test that and get Caswell Road complete. Fall Creek Road, so that was the aerial routes that just got done. We'll be splicing that, Ed Hill Road and Howell School. And then we have a small section on 13 and Livermore Road that will also be included splicing. And then the last big chunk, that should say Route 38, it's not 8. But aerial cable installation on Route 38 and West Dryden Road are our next big aerial routes that the Syracuse utility crew is working. So that'll get a large chunk of that north half of the town left done, with Pruville Road and Bone Plain Road being the 2 outliers.
Ryan, there was a question in the chat from, I believe, Kimberly Griffiths about Nemai. Is it Dryden 07 or Dryden 011B?
Dryden 011B.
So if we go back to that,
Yeah, I think we need to clear that up on the map.
I think this is Nemai over here. Maybe the south side of Nemai is in 11B. North side is 7. I think this is Etna.
Yeah, let me go. I'll double check on that. I can get an answer to this group.
So I guess it is only one set of poles. That's true.
Yeah, there's only one set of poles, so it's either one or the other. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably, if you're on Nemai, you probably want the red one, because these blue blocks are only
coming up from, yeah.
It's on Hanshaw. It's on the Hanshaw permit, not the Nemai permit. So this on some the parcels that border 2 different permit lines might not be the color that their neighbors are. Basically, somewhere in that parcel there's frontage with service.
Yeah, I'll do a double check on Nemai Road, and I can put something out to the group.
Cool. Yeah, it looks like that's
Dryden 7.
Yeah, Dryden 7. All right. Thanks, Ryan. Is this in addition, or is this something different? Or
let me just see if there's any highlights here. That I think we've talked about the underground in the village of Dryden. Lower Creek Road, Etna Square, as we're calling it, and Ithaca Estates. So we've got a lot of work done there, but we do have Wood Road and Upper Creek Road that we're finishing up. Caswell Road, we talked about the small underground section there. They continue to finish up Dryden 0010. And yeah, I think we've talked about most of this.
Yeah. Are there any questions on construction? Tony has his hand raised. Tony. I don't hear Tony. I know he's in the car. And he's muted. Oh, Tony? All right, we'll go to Eric from Clarity.
Hi, Ryan. We have an install at 92 Lower Creek Road. It's part of that. I think it's part of the Caswell. Oh no, I'm sorry. Lower Creek, yeah, 97 Lower Creek Road. The cable stops before this, but on the map it says it keeps going. It was just pointed out to me.
Yeah, is it okay? Yeah, I'll take a look at it.
All right, you want me to send you a screenshot?
Yeah, it'd be great. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Cool.
Ryan, about the map, can I just ask? Basically, last time you said there were going to be some updates. It sounds like there's been no update to the map.
It was a map update on November 21st.
Yeah, the last one was November.
I think it was 21st. It was right before the outage. I think it was like that Thursday.
Yeah, but it didn't quite include it. I mean, there has been things that are not included on it that we know could be served.
Yeah, we're on the okay. We were going to do a map upload, I think last night, as we said. New York State asked for some information about coverage in the project that required some of our Hunt's GIS team on behalf of the town of Dryden. That kind of came through to us a bit last minute, so we prioritized on that. That had a hard deadline.
Okay, so by next week we'll have another one. Is that right, Ryan? Will Joel be able to get to it by next week, or
Yes,
Or
that's
just,
right.
or just when you publish, can you send it to the Broadband Committee, at least so we know that it's been updated? Just send a message, say, hey, we updated the map. We don't even know what detail,
Yeah.
I just, because we've got people asking, I know Tony has this issue too. We've got people asking us and we're saying, oh, it's close, we know that this, but then we can reach out to those people and basically get them as customers. So I think that's what my intent of knowing when it goes live. So it's nice of us because we're getting people asking us questions. So
Understood. Yep.
yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll just add that to the list of everyone who gets contacted in different ways, Ryan. Like Graham doesn't need the KMZ and the spreadsheet, just
Yeah.
yeah. We're still working that the process has been growing every time we do a release. One thing you
And-
can't tell your friends, you don't have to, but you can tell them is that they can sign up in advance of their parcel turning green. And when it does turn green, when Ryan sends that email out, one of the people who always gets that email is Tracy and the team from Gleeman. They review the list of everyone who signed up who was not in service, cross checks, and then reached out directly to them by the email that they used to register to get them on the schedule.
Okay, so
So, like,
they should receive an email, basically. Is that the expectation that people can have?
they
Or they
very much
get,
can
yeah.
expect to get an email generally
Okay.
within one business day of when those areas turn green. And when those areas turn green on the map, the spreadsheet with the list of all the addresses goes to Gleeman,
Yeah.
and then process those against the sign up list, make a list to hand over to Integrity. And Integrity does outreach calls or emails and says, hey, it's now available. Can we get you on the schedule? And within 2 weeks. So they don't have to do anything once the map turns green if they've already pre-registered.
Right, and I'm staying on top of that so that usually within, if Ryan sends a change to the map out today, by tomorrow, Integrity will have a list of people that are now in the green zone and they can make phone calls to them. And they've been really good about getting on that and staying on top of it, which is why we keep getting more and more people on the service. We have multiple people that sign up like 52 times. So
They're getting anxious. Yeah, this is what we know that that's
Exactly.
happening. And the problem is it's a spreadsheet, not a system that can correlate it pretty easily necessarily. Yeah, so
That's right.
yeah, and our
Yeah.
spreadsheet right now is almost 1,000. I think it's just under 900.
We are a nonprofit, so we don't have all the bells and whistles,
Yeah.
ERM, IAN's website
Yeah.
at this point. Good. I think most of the people who apply more than once are Dryden Town board members. All right, let's go to, do we want to talk about MDUs? Any changes this month from last month or any highlights to cover?
Just Ithaca Estates. And then our outlook on Little Creek Mobile Home Community. We walked that. We did an assessment of this is the mobile home park in the north end of the village of Dryden.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty intricate going through there. So we're planning on, working directly with Syracuse Utilities and the rest of the team to kind of walk that site, come up with a really good plan and take it to the property management people, because it's going to be a very tight, intricate installation.
All right. Thanks for the updates on MDUs. Tracy, installations.
As we had a discrepancy with Amanda's numbers. We had 17 installed in November, but 3 of them were right at the end of the month, so they didn't make it to Amanda's list. As of the 1st of December, there were 50 pending, already scheduled. There are more than that now, and we've already installed, I think, 5 or 6 more since the beginning of the month. So we thought we may have an installation blocker with drop cables, but as it turns out, we don't have. They're going to be here first part of next week, so we're good there. The ONUs, we already talked about them, so I'm not going to continue to harp on that. We did, Rick Young was kind enough to clean out one of the connexes that's at the town highway department. So we now have double the space that we had before. We've already gone up there and made some transfers of equipment to that new connex so that all the equipment that's needed for installations will be in one connex, and everything that's for construction will be in the other connex. And I've let Clarity know, because they're the ones that do the installations. They now have access to a different connex with all of their equipment that they need will be in that one. Any
Great.
questions about any of that?
Yep. So that solves our our storage of the inventory problem. Is that correct?
That's correct. For right now, we're in good shape.
Perfect.
We just got to figure out what we're going to do when we start getting the MIP for Town of Caroline. And I think that Mark is working on something over there too. So we'll get there.
We're storing all that at Tony's house, right? Isn't that what we're going to do?
I think Dave Makar is making space at his house. He's in the Town of Caroline.
I have space in my garage for 2 cars. I only have 1 car. So leave the light on.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
All right. As I said, Amanda's not in today. Highlight on the finance. Due from grants right now, 624, 614. This is from the ARC grant from Amanda. There's still some things we're working on. They had some questions. We had some answers. We are going to get this funds. This is through USDA Rural Development. So it'll be a big chunk of money coming in. Due from MIP, so far since June 16th, we have accounted for $568,000 for MIP. That will be part of that first reimbursement request that we send out in January. Now, we do have to hit some project milestones. So the team, Brian, Amanda, and I will be working next week to make sure we're lined up on the milestones part of this. If we need to do anything to make sure we hit that, so we can do the reimbursement request in Q1 of 2025. Those are the main highlights on this finance slide. Any questions? Okay. Operational under finance, accounts receivables, about 371.50 as of 11:30. We have 2 or 3 customers who still want to send us checks, so sometimes they get a little bit behind of where we expect them to be. This is 2 or 3, which seem like a lot more than we had when we talked about this last time, about 6 months ago, but we have expanded from having about 30 customers 6 months ago to having 180 customers now. So it's a pretty small percentage of customers that are not using our electronic payments that happen automatically each month.
Dave, would it behove us to, we probably don't want to do this, alter a structure of how we bill? Is it worth looking at that?
I mean, right now it's like less than 2%
Yeah.
that are paying by check. They are paying. It's not like they're having delinquency. So I would say not change based on the ease of having the other 98.5% paying us automatically without having multiple processes for different types of ways people pay. It's probably okay. If it does creep up, or if you have a big change, I think most people do like to have things just automatically drawn.
Yeah.
I also think that if there is an issue, in the past, I've reached out to the people that there was an issue, and they were very good about just getting it taken care of right away. So I don't think that, in my opinion, I don't think there needs to be a change to this. I'm pretty sure Amanda was here. She'd be like, no, don't do anything different.
No, well, it would also, yeah, there's a cost of putting in differentials, but there's also a cost of processing checks. It's probably a lot higher, well, than the 2% on the credit card fees or whatever we're paying for that. But so.
That's true. I think we just continue to monitor it. One note that is on here is there was no outage credits for November. For December, there will be there's the request that I submitted for the 35 customers who are out for 22 hours, that'll be 40% off of their bill. So we'll see that credit show up in the December report that you'll see in January.
Dave, if you had to project out a break-even month, what would that be? Hopefully sometime next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still aiming for March 31st based on continued growth. It's definitely not, it's not a linear destination based on our exponential growth over the last 3 months and the demand, as well as all the green zones that the construction team is handing to us. And as you'll see in the marketing slide, the number of customers in the sign-up sheet who will be in the green zone from these recent rounds of construction or will be constructed soon. So I'm still thinking March 31st will be a break even. 3.5 months from now.
Yeah, I understand it's non-linear, but it's a nice kind of understandable metric to hit for the general public.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, there will be some incremental costs as we have more customers, but we are doing a couple of things. One is we're really managing around anything we can that's a monthly expense. Marketing, we have not put a lot into marketing. We have a marketing subcontractors helping out, but I'm not using them very much. We don't really need to at this point based on what demand is doing on its own. The other thing is you'll see subscription utilities there. We are looking at an alternative provider for broadband, which could lower our cost there by about $3,000 a month. So we're working on that process now, just contracts with our attorney right now.
Like it.
That would also get us to break even quicker, lowering, as you know from accounting, lowering the cost, the expenses. All right, Tracy, it's fine print, but a lot of stuff happening in sales. You want to cover some of the highlights?
Yes. So as Dave mentioned earlier, we've been working with all the different parties to make sure that we don't have any issues with inventory going forward. I think we've got a pretty good handle on that right now. We're going to put some more methods into place to keep that from being a problem going forward. The multi-use developments, I saw that Tony raised his hand earlier and asked about Carl Westerling. We have not made a contact with Carl and had a meeting yet, but we will. They don't have any access to the fiber over in those locations as of yet. So if we get, sorry, I was reading what Kimberly just sent. If we can get to those properties, then it makes sense to go speak with them and get them on the schedule and so forth. The Mott Road one, that gentleman and we just been missing each other to try to get together. They are actually in the green zone and he's ready to go. We can go ahead and do whatever we want at that location. He is willing to meet with me and go over everything. We just haven't been able to get together. Earlier, Ryan mentioned Little Creek. That one's ready to go. We have an agreement, but we're not there yet. And I passed over Ithaca Estates. That is going like crazy. I think we have either 11 or 12 people signed up in the trailer park. We already have 4 or 5 of them installed. It's almost a daily occurrence to have somebody from the trailer park call in to get service now. And once they find out that their neighbor has it, they want it. So I think that's going to be where we're going to spend a lot of time in the next month.
Do we have a sign out there anywhere? I know it's down on where I am, there's signs, but is there a sign outside?
Not that I'm aware of.
We don't, but we could put one in the public right away, either at 13 and Kirk or 13 and Etna.
Yeah, that might be an idea. So
I don't even know if you need it. The word of mouth in that park is like, it's crazy. And the lady that's the on-site manager, she calls me frequently to let me know what's going on in the trailer park now. So I wouldn't
So
say we're like best friends, but it's like she calls me a lot.
is she a customer?
What's that?
She a customer?
Yes, Christine Kalinek. She was she's the one that basically went to the owner of the park and said, "Hey, you got to get this done." And then we didn't do anything after that for a while, and she was very irritated. But now she's good because she signed up and she's got service and she loves us. So she's like one of our best salespeople.
We could put a sign in her yard if we want to, if we do want to drive even more business over there.
It wouldn't hurt anything, I don't think.
Cool.
Then there's the Lake Street project. We're still trying to figure out what we're going to do with that. And the one on Library Street, we've got a whole bunch of people signed up, but it's just not happening. We've got the agreement sent out. It's the library group, or it's a board of directors, and they just can't seem to get. They don't know what they're doing, I guess. I don't know.
Jason, do you know anyone on the board of directors for the Library Foundation here in the Southworth Library?
Mike Lamb's still on it. I don't know if Bambi's on.
Yeah,
I think Mike Lamb's still on it.
that should not take forever for them to.
That's what I was told. They said, yeah, we'll get that taken care of, but nothing's happened. At any rate, there are 4 people that have signed up, and we're just waiting for an agreement so we can move forward with getting them installed.
Okay, so the question here is, if Tony knows somebody or somebody knows somebody, can they assist in this to see if we can get it moving along?
Yeah, I would think that just making a phone call to somebody and saying, hey, what's going on with this? I believe that the Dryden Apartments group they're part of the management team, and I've been in touch with the people there, and they're just like, hey, it's a process. They got to get an approval, but it's been 2 months. I don't know how long it takes to get an approval, but
has the agreement been sent
yes,
to the Library Foundation?
Yes.
So we have a name of something at the foundation.
I believe that Cassie has that information. Yes.
If I believe that I've been working with someone from the rental company that Tracy was talking about. It's not the actual library association that I'm dealing with. It's the rental group that helps them. Who
Dryden
did you say that
Apartments.
was? Yeah, Dryden Apartments.
Yes.
He has messaged me a couple of times. It's not Kayla, Tony. It's Jessica, I think her name was.
Either Jessica or Jennifer.
Yeah, one of those. She's gotten in touch with me a couple of times saying, I haven't forgotten this. The board just hasn't signed it. I'll ask them again. I'll send it again. And that's the last I've heard.
Yeah. So that's where that sits.
So
yeah, I guess, Tony, if you know someone on the foundation, even if you just ask them, do you know about Dryden Fiber? Do you know your tenants could be using Dryden Fiber? Someone there might have this document.
There you go. Tony's on it.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony.
Great.
So back to the slide. We have 22 signed agreements now. There's 5 more that we're just waiting for returns. One of them is the library. We had 17 new installs. There's 50 scheduled. There's another 30 that are signed up. They're in the green zone that we've made contact with, and they haven't called us back to say, yes, we're ready to go. So there's a total of 80 more sitting out there right now that we could have by the end of, we'll probably the end of January. We'll have them in the fold. There's this new development with Paul Simonet, who's going to be extending Wellesley Drive, and we talked about that in the meeting the other day. This is something that he's doing it. It's a matter of, we're not sure when it's going to happen, but it looks like by the spring.
Yeah. So in this case, for any new construction happening in the town of Dryden, like this extension, we will be putting together a utility easement for the developer. Once they sign off on that, it allows us to go in with our name on the basically on the conduit. So when it does come time to put in the fiber, we're ready to go. And because we have a utility easement with them, if anything happens when they transfer the road to the village or to the town, the easement stays with Dryden Fiber. Our town attorney and our broadband attorneys are wrapping up that, so we send it over to this developer, to Paul Simonet, this month. That way, while the ground is open, in this case, we don't have to do a second job of putting the dig in, doing a dig. But going forward, now that we have this in place, any new developments that are going on in town will do the same thing that NYSEG does and Spectrum does, which is having a Dryden Fiber utility easement. So Tracy, I'll give you an update on that as soon as I hear back from Nathan and David.
Okay, very good. And then I did meet with Mr. Tony Palumbo. He owns the apartments that are on Diebler Drive. I think that's how you say it, Diebler. And he is, Tony's back.
Yeah, I got my microphone working again.
So this gentleman, we have not installed the fiber on Diebler Drive. It's imminent, but we haven't done it yet. But I went and met with him. This is, I think there's a total of 24 apartments on Diebler Drive. And this is another one where Ryan and I have been working on trying to get some kind of a device that will allow us to install one ONU and an apartment building that will allow us to service multiple people in that building, because we don't want to have to run, if there's 5 apartments in a building, we don't want to run 5 fibers. Just run one and get them all hooked up. So Ryan's been working on this. I know he has. I've seen some emails about it, but we just haven't gotten anything back from Sienna at this point. But that's another one where, like Carl Westerling, we're ahead of the game, trying to get somebody to sign it. He's like, well, how are you going to do this? How are you going to get here? What are you going to do? What's going to, because this particular drive is a, when you go down that road, it's aerial for the first section. And then after that, everything is buried.
Right.
So are we limited by the Sienna options here? Is that some of the problem? Or?
Just to be clear, I think what Tracy was talking about with the Sienna gear is we have a location on 1062 Dryden Road, and they have copper already ran through the building. So they got Cat 5, Cat 6, whatever it is.
Oh, okay.
And we're trying to terminate one device in the boiler room and serve each customer via the copper drop. And we know I picked out a device from Sienna, sent it to them and said, is this the one we need? But what I need to know from them is, can they control each port?
Right.
Each copper port to shut it on and off or whatever through the system that Sienna uses. Software.
They should be able to. The other question is, are they, each apartment should really have its own network. Like, they shouldn't all be on the same.
Yeah,
like,
right. Yes,
yeah, so right. Each port needs to be isolated so that it can't see the other. So like if I'm in apartment 1, I can't see devices that are on apartment 2.
Exactly. So you can't just take like a, like a Cisco switch in there and just set
right.
it.
Right. Exactly.
That was the question to Sienna is this device going to meet our needs on a, inside the box? And then I think for the other MDUs, it's more of a traditional, we're trying to find, like terminate one box on the outside of an 8-unit building. And, unless they have existing infrastructure, we'll just run a new fiber premise cable to each unit and find the entry to each apartment building, but you're still all fiber all the way through. We just have this situation on 1062 where there's copper in the buildings and we want to take advantage of it.
Yeah. On Diebler Drive, those are all, I think the biggest one is a 5-unit, but they're mostly duplexes and
yes.
And like 4 units. There's a couple of 4 units.
Yes. There are
3
4s and there's at least one 5-unit.
Yeah. I used to live on Diebler Drive, so I know it very well.
Gotcha. He's a great guy, Mr.
He is.
Colombo. He's a really nice guy.
I know him too. Yep.
And then last on the list is I did go out and meet with a gentleman named Phil Yeager, and his boss is Alex Perkins at Jones Junior Republic. They are very excited to get our service. We just got to figure out how to get there.
We have a plan in place, just a matter of implementing it.
Yes.
Right. And you were gonna hit them off Mott Road, right?
That was the thought.
That
Yeah.
was your original plan. That would have required us to do like a 2,000+ foot drop to their building.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we're going to
All right.
run right down 38 to right in front of their main entrance.
Got it.
From there, it's less than 500 feet to their building where they have their servers.
Okay.
And
Also,
they already
we
have,
figured
they
that-
have, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Since the green zone is on both sides of 38, because of where it is in the trail and where it is on Mott Road,
Right.
we'll pay the cost of going down 38 to their front door,
Right.
and then they'll pay from there to the building, which is, like I said, it's around 500 feet, which would be free. If
Right.
it's more than that, it's $2 per foot, so it should be a pretty minimal cost to them. And they're
Right.
buying, I believe, the second or third highest tier in the commercial accounts.
Yeah, they're looking for a 1 gig connection to start with. And they already have their own fiber network run on the property to all the buildings. So we have access to get to the conduits that are in place to get us where we need to be for that.
Right. But you're probably just going to one spot and then they're distributing to all the buildings from there.
That's
Yeah.
correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
All right, a lot of stuff, Tracy. Thanks for the update. Any questions on
Yeah.
sales?
Yeah. Tracy, did you touch base with Lowry at all? The business at the end of Etna Lane?
No,
Okay.
they're the ones that are right up the street from you, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And I believe Ryan thinks that they can get service data on service of the map. They already, from the looks of what they've got a fiber there already. Because they have this orange cable running down the pole that obviously goes underground into their building. I've not talked to anybody there, but it's obviously have some fiber, but I suspect it's an opportunity for us, so.
Those,
They are not-
those orange cables are actually sometimes Spectrum.
But they're
Yeah.
not actually in the green zone, I don't think, are they, Ryan?
But
They are, that's
Yeah.
part of the map update we were
Yeah.
gonna issue. But there, we actually feed that trailer park with the pole in front of Lowry.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you just have to
So-
come across the road to
Yeah.
their pole.
And then
you're done.
usually when you see those like, orange cables, it's like a Spectrum premise cable that they just color that way to identify it. It's not like orange fiber or whatever. But I wouldn't be surprised if First Light was there either. So
Yeah, so it's something, I don't know what they have, so, but I think we can probably get, work with them to get a customer, so. You want me to send you, you know where it is?
Yes,
Tracy,
I
right?
do. If
Yeah, yeah.
you don't
Perfect,
have a
okay.
contact there, do you, Graham?
I do not.
Okay.
So,
It's all right. I'll stop in.
okay. I can do it, but you're probably a better salesman than I am. And they probably want to see a nice pickup truck, not my Tesla, so.
All right. I don't know if anyone from Integrity is still here, if Andrew's here. I don't see him on the call. Very busy help desk month. As you see, 51 installation orders in the upper right-hand corner, 159 total. Still getting a lot of unrelated inbounds. That's because our phone number did not launch in full yet. It's out there. It's not just in full. So that's still creating some help desk calls. And finally, the outage, which is 23, which happened on November 22nd. So that's kind of the highlights on customer service this month. Any questions I can try to answer on behalf of Integrity?
Can you talk a little bit about the plume issues that people were expressing when we set people up? Or do we have any count of those? Or, basically how far a plume goes versus what the base Spectrum device goes for range for their Wi-Fi?
We can work on a report of the number of requests about the poor Wi-Fi, as well as the number of customers actually have more than one Plume device as a solution to that problem. Yeah, I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay, great.
How is it presented to people about the Plume devices? Like, is it presented that they should get a Plume device or that they need a Plume device, or is it presented that if you want managed Wi-Fi through us, then it's the Plume device?
I think the latter is the way it's being handled, Tony.
Okay. All right.
Like, Graham, I have a question for you. How many do you have? Do you just have one Plume?
No, I have two Plumes and I have another router on the back end someplace that's in the garage. So,
Gotcha. Okay.
but there's underground. I have underground Ethernet there, so I Cat 5. So I just run it to the other router and do that. So.
Yeah,
And my
see,
coverage is great. I mean, it's very good with what I've got currently. So, but I've got a small house too. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, I think we've learned a little bit this week in talking to some other vendors that the Plume devices work really well for, 1,000 square foot houses with paper walls, maybe. But when you get to other types of construction, there's other challenges. We have some large houses here and large properties, and there are other options out there.
I don't think it's as good as like a Google Mesh or something like that, and its coverage. But they're buying 3, 4, 5 devices to cover their houses. So, like when my neighbor is, it's a big house. They cover it with having lots of Google. I don't know what they call their.
Yeah, I think
the thing. So
yeah, they have a mesh network.
Yeah. The complaint I think Scott's getting is that, ours isn't as good as what they had at Spectrum wireless router. The Plumes are not as strong as those, I suspect. But whether we can really fix these problems or not, the other disadvantage of Plume is the number of ports that come out of them and the way they plug in. It's nice, very nice, in sort of an aesthetically nice package. But if you want to run multiple Ethernets, which I do off it, you just have to buy a gigabit splitter, and it just does it. They're very cheap, just works. But you do have to put another piece of equipment to make that work. But so I don't know if the expectation isn't set right in our marketing, maybe, that we need to say, okay, these are good for this. You may need more, and that will alleviate the angst that people are having or saying, it's just not as good. So, and I want to know how many of those Scott really got, or, but.
I think the biggest problem with the Plume devices is the footprint that they cover is very small comparatively to almost anything else out there. So if you, like Dave said, if you got 1,000 square foot house, you're fine. If you got a second floor, you got a bigger house, then you're going to need multiple Plume devices.
Also, keep in mind that as the technology advances for wireless, the bubbles get smaller. It could actually be the case that Spectrum stuff is at 2.4 gigahertz and it just penetrates stuff better. And then the other new stuff is at 5 gigahertz. It's not going to be that simple. I know the Plume device is balanced between both and everything, but as you get into the more advanced gear, the bubbles do get smaller and you got to add more of them. That's why we're at the mesh systems that we're at today.
Yeah, and there's so many variables. Size of the house, construction of the walls, where you place the device in your house. If you're putting it in the basement, maybe you're not going to cover the whole house, but if you put it on the first floor, maybe you do, right? So there's so many variables that tie into this, and it's really hard to.
What's the wall look like when it comes off the wall outlet location? That's a big piece of it, because with routers with antennas, you can a little bit and reposition stuff.
Yeah, well, this plugs, it plugs rightly into your outlet. There isn't any choice of having a cable to it or a power supply. So, I mean, in some ways it's very nice and elegant. So in other ways it's this. I just want to make sure that we are meeting, if we set an expectation that at least when maybe when Clarity goes out there, they got a Plume and they say, and they notice it's a really large place or something, we might want to advocate that they buy a couple of these other devices. I don't
Right.
know. So
Yeah, it's a good.
the other thing
mean, I
was adding to the data collection was to put the footprint of your house or approximate footprint. So, and that will help guide at least us in the future of knowing, oh, we're serving these buildings that are, 3,000-foot house rather than 1,000-foot house. So,
Yeah, we talked about that a couple days
Yeah.
ago about updating the sign up form to say, here's my square footage, or
yeah,
here's the number of devices I plan to have. And some customers know that and they're that sophisticated in their
Mhm.
request. It's going to make it a lot easier for us to say, you'll need multiple Plume devices,
Yeah, you'll need these.
or you'll need a
There's, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't use a Plume device because I already have, what have I got? 5, 6 access points in my house that I'm just going to tie into. So.
That's the other thing.
We're not all on that same page as you, Tony.
Yeah, I know. Not everybody has an enterprise class router in their house, but
Actually, I have a Ubiquity wireless device at my house that covers my entire house with one unit. So
yeah, they're pretty good. I actually have a
Yeah.
Ubiquity. My router is a Ubiquity Dream Machine Pro, and all my access points are Ubiquity access points.
Ubiquity is one of the nicest.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on.
There,
We can
but-
add this to the post-meeting discussion. Marketing, under contract, we're now at 180. I look at the right-hand column on this table. So 15 new this month. The request was our biggest month of requests so far, 115 requests in the month of November, 51 of those being in the green zone. Of that, 579 of our requests were not available yet. Some of those are duplicates, but not too many. Some of those are in Caroline, as I mentioned, about 40 of them are in Caroline. But that still leaves around 500 customers that are in the town of Dryden that are not yet in the green zone. So as we turn more of Dryden green on the map, we'll be able to tap right into that 500, approximately 500 customers right away. The serviceable live percentage dropped because of the backlog of equipment, but that should catch up and get back closer to 70% with all the installations happening this month. And then everything else, website visitors, pretty consistent month over month over the last few months, around 800 users and visitors to the site. Other parts of marketing, yard signs, we have 57 out in play all over town. We have a tax bill introductory letter drafted. It'll be ready for town board approval probably later today. So the town board will approve that this month. And when the tax bills go out in January, there'll be a welcome to Dryden Fiber to all residents. Check the map, sign up now. Here's some pricing. So we're pretty close on that piece of marketing. There've been some social media posts. There was one last night for the map expansion from just before the outage and just before Thanksgiving. Phone number has been updated. That's a Dryden Fiber project on the marketing side. Syracuse Utilities now has 3 truck magnets. So as they are around Lee Road and the village doing underground work, as well as doing aerial work, they're promoting Dryden Fiber. As I mentioned, Caroline did their newsletter for the month and mentioned Dryden Fiber. And finally, the business tier, last part of that process, updating our business tier, was to put the postcard out. Phone number is now done. Just need to do something now with make sure the printer adheres to our tax-free status. We shouldn't be paying sales tax on those. That's everything going on in marketing this month. Any questions on marketing?
Yeah, Dave, Lightspeed has magnets and Clarity has magnets for their trucks right now.
That's right.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so now Lightspeed, Clarity, and Syracuse Utilities has truck magnets. We ordered 12. We can order more as we have more crews going on doing both installations and construction all over town, as well as the MIP areas. We could get more of these magnets.
Hey Dave, this is Mark. The newsletter went out on the 21st of November. Was mailed, and I was looking at your numbers. So it looked at 12/1 it was plus like 115. I was wondering if it caused a spike, because the newsletter note did encourage people to go ahead and sign up if they wanted to.
25 of our signups were from Caroline
In December or as in November?
between
Or-
November 21st and November 30th.
Oh, great.
They almost all came like the day that it was like a Saturday or Sunday. We just started getting request after request from Caroline.
That's great.
Caroline is now a field people select when they sign up. And then I went to my mailbox and I got my mail and it had the Town of Caroline letter. So as soon as people got your newsletter, they went right to the website and signed up.
Oh, that's great.
So right now we're at least 40 since August, since we added that field that says Town of Caroline on the sign up form. I know I signed up like a year ago, so there's a number of other people who live in the Town of Caroline who were not tracked as Caroline. So I'm going to say at least 50 people have already signed up.
Great.
I
There
added
have
this
been
new
more already this month, just so you know.
that was just November. Just on facilities and grounds, I added this from some of the work that Rick and the DPW team have been doing for us. During the November 22nd snowstorm, the Yellow Barn pop had lost power. We were able to bring power back through a generator on the morning of 11/23, and then refueled that power generator, I think 4 different times that day until NYSEG restored power. The other pops and central office did not lose power, so they didn't have an issue that DPW needed to help support during the storm. A couple of things that DPW did this year, as Tracy mentioned, they set up the second Connex at the DPW yard. That's cleaned out. It's ready to go. They did some work managing the electrical inspections for the cabinets and the CO. So we have all the certifications for electrical. That's also something that DPW that Rick has helped out with. And finally, we did have a couple electrical repair things come up in the last 6 months that Rick and the team from DPW helped to take care of. So I want to put it in the report. They've been helpful, very instrumental during that November 22nd storm. And into 2025, we want to make sure this is a little bit more defined as far as how they're supporting the project going forward.
Just so you know, we were able to get Rick Young signed up for service at his house, so that should help us out a little bit there.
Completely separate from this slide or that report is that there is a customer who has the same name as our highway superintendent. All right. That's the meeting schedule going forward. I did have on the agenda to review and approve the minutes from the September meetings. Is anyone on the committee had a chance to review those and willing to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, thanks, Graham. Any second?
I can second it.
All right, any discussion from the minutes? All right, Cassie, thanks for doing those. All in favor of approving the minutes from the September meetings?
Aye.
I think I need either Dan or Jason or Arthur or Joel to also chime in to get enough.
Arthur raised his hand. I saw him.
Yes.
All right. All right, that is the last part of the meeting. There were maybe a couple comments in the chat just regarding updates to the map, the date, and probably a nice question about our 40% off. When you go to our website, in the For Customers page, there are the service level agreements. These were put together before I joined the project that were, I believe, based on Empire and their service level agreement. I also know that there are Empire customers who work on our project who don't get the kind of credits that we're providing to our customers. But our current SLA says for these number of minutes out of service, anything over 120 minutes, which is 2 hours, here's the number of minutes, the threshold, and the percentage of credit on the next month's bill that we provide back. I'd say take a look at that. We can put that on the agenda for the meeting in 2 weeks. That's kind of more the discussion meeting to see if we want to make any changes to the SLA regarding credits, especially regarding weather-related incidents. Mark's hand is up. Mark?
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. I just wanted to I sent out an email this morning that Rich Frank has been helping with a concept for a POP at the town hall here or near. And he did reply. So, and I don't think he's on the meeting, but Ryan is. I just wanted to just bring this up so it's on people's radar. And the idea was to establish a POP here with, as I understand it from Rich, getting the bandwidth from Frontier. So we have an agreement worked out and everything. But the one thing that we've been going back and forth on is where it would be. So we did have a discussion with Slaterville Fire Department across the street on the south side of the street. And Rich came out and had a very engaged meeting with the group. And then we evaluated sites here at the town hall. And so my last understanding was that we would put some kind of a utility shed here on the town hall grounds. But from Rich's reply today, I don't know if that's considered less desirable for some reason. But anyway, I just am looking for guidance on that, and I'll be in touch with Rich, but that is in play. I think the original idea was this would provide some diversity to the system to make it robust. So I don't know if you have any comments on that, Ryan.
Yeah, I can just touch on that real quick. There were some other emails going out about it. The idea at the, I'll just kind of start with at the end picture. There will be 2 POPs in Caroline to feed all the customers. We're working on the second location now. The fire department would have been ideal. But I think I didn't see Rich's email yet. I'll have to go back and look at it. But basically we need to set that hut, and the idea will be that the 2 POPs will be connected with a diverse ring in Caroline. And we'd like to have another backhaul circuit down there. That would be the Frontier location. They have a central office right near the town hall down the road a little bit. So that would allow Caroline to operate completely severed from Dryden if that happened. But then additionally to that, we're gonna look at connections through Bessemer Road as one way into town, out of town on Hartford Road. Yep. And then if we can get a couple extra 100 feet from the Connect All office, make another connection off of Midline Road.
Okay.
And where the Dryden network ends on Midline Road. Then that would give us like 3 points that would have to go down for you to be disconnected from Dryden. And then even if you were, you would have that backup circuit there, and then the redundant ring between your own POPs.
Okay.
And
So you'd have to have about six or 7 physical failures to like.
Okay, great.
and
But- Go
Ryan,
ahead.
so there will be a connection from the commodity internet to them as well, right? If they can run independently, or is just a ring?
Yeah, independently. So they've Frontier has a central office on 7th.
Okay.
So we and their pricing's actually not bad. So that was the initial discussion, and so Rich was kind of carrying out that discussion prior to Dryden being involved in the Caroline part of the project. So now that they are, we have to coordinate all that.
And that adds to Dryden's redundancy too. If we lost both of ours, which we've got 2 points going out, so is that correct? Right, so it all can route to you. Perfect. Yeah, that's nice. So
we're gonna try to get a meeting together to talk about the network, the POP locations, Caroline, and with both teams from Dryden and Caroline, Dryden Fiber, probably Scott from Netegrity, who is helping to manage the network, as well as Ryan, the team from Hunt, to try to get some of this a lot more figured out.
Okay, so I should hold off on doing anything for now. Is that correct?
Yeah. I told Rich I was
okay. Great.
just hold on Frontier, hold that quote.
Okay.
work you guys have done to date, we'll just hold on to that and make sure we take advantage of it. But
Okay, I will stand by then. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, Hunt did a lot of great work for Caroline before MIP even existed. So that's why they were like kind of bridge these two pieces together to the project. I think that's all I have. As I said, the next meeting we have is in 2 weeks on the 20th. It's the last Friday before the holiday. I will be here at Town Hall probably every one of these meetings going forward. So if you are in Dryden and you want to do this in person, Jason's right over here. So you can come here and have an in-person meeting. You can also do it by Zoom. We'll continue to do it by Zoom if that works for you. But if you want to see us in person, you can do that. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all on the 20th, and we'll look for map updates coming next week.
Great.
Dave,
Thank
can
you.
we, I'm sorry, I know it's late. I got one question. I had one of the signups that came in today was for 628 Blackman Hill Road in Berkshire. And I tried to look it up on the map. It doesn't exist in the town of Caroline. So I sent that information to the person that signed up, and they said, yeah, I am. I'm in the town of Caroline. And she sent me her tax bill, and it says that she's in the town of Caroline. So
Yeah, that's correct. All the addresses on Blackman Hill Road are in Caroline. I don't know why it's not showing up as a Caroline address.
I just want to make sure that I'm not remiss here. I don't want to send people something that says, hey, you're not in our town when they're in the town.
Yeah.
It's not showing up on Dryden Fiber right now. Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry, say it again.
It's not showing up on DrydenFiber.com?
On the map, it did not show up. At least I put in the address, 628 Blackman Hill Road in Berkshire. It didn't find it. It showed me one in Richford.
Yeah.
I mean, what number is it? 595?
628.
628. As far as I know, Blackman Hill only traverses Caroline. By the time you get to Tioga County, it becomes Jewett Hill Road.
Gotcha.
So,
and again, this is I didn't mean to take more time for this meeting, but
no,
these are things that concern me, because if I'm sending people notices that say sorry, that's not really good.
It's way over here. I just had to manually click on it. So that's the parcel. This is 628 Blackman Hill. I don't know if this is displaying. This is Blackman Hill Road.
Yeah, it's on the very edge of the town of Caroline.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like many things here in upstate, like the town, hamlet, neighborhood might be far from the name of the municipality, but this is town of Caroline.
Okay.
So yeah, and because they're in the orange and because they're in town of Caroline, and there's a house on the parcel, they will have service through MIP sometime between now and the end of 2026.
That's a pretty remote area out there.
Given the remoteness of this area, I'm going to say it's probably the second half of 2026, given where they are compared to where we are right now.
Well, I'm assuming that these people signed up because Mark in the town sent out that newsletter, and these people are like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, I think that's true.
That's great.
Because they probably have a DSL circuit right now.
Yep, like I do. Yeah.
That's why Mark's always at town hall.
Again, sorry, didn't mean to take up more time. Thank you.
All right.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, it's good to hear. We're going to reach everyone. All right, thanks. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody.